Yawning Angel Keith sent me a rather serious looking box. I'll show you what's inside. Inside is his Acorn Electron. In fact, I think this is Mrs. Yawning Angel Keith's Acorn Electron. And it's faulty, so he handed it over to me when we recently met up at the cave. I'm going back to the cave this weekend. I'm not sure he's going to be there, but I'm going to be in Swindon at Retrofest on the on the 30th and the 31st of May, and it's going to be an amazing event. I was there last year with lots of my other YouTube chums, and we had just a brilliant time. I just realised my lights are not on. Hang on, that's better. Okay, so yeah, going to be at Retrofest on the 30th and the 31st of May, and it's just going to be a blast. I highly recommend you come along. There's so much to see there. Anyway, Keith is going to be there, and I'm going to hand him back this after hopefully I've repaired it. So he sent me his power supply. I'm pretty sure that these are supposed to be AC power supplies. Oh yeah, this is a Netgear power supply. So this one is 12 volts, 1 amp. And the power supply that this is supposed to have is a 19 volt AC power supply. But it's bridge rectified inside, so a DC power supply is okay. I'm not sure 12 volts is reliably okay. I remember ages ago when I was messing around with my own elk and repaired that one, that it would be flaky at 12 volts. So I'd have to up the voltage to about 14 volts. But anyway, we'll try it on this and then see what happens. He's also sent his power lead and his elk 2 SD 128, which I've never used. I don't think I've ever used one of these before. But very cool. And his sticker. I've already got one of his stickers somewhere. Definitely got one of his stickers somewhere. Anyway, so this is what this is doing. I'm just going to plug in the video lead into the RGB port, and I stick this into my power supply. We'll stick the power supply into the mains, and then I'll plug this in, and you should see that. Now, that's very familiar to me because that's exactly the same fault state as my own elk when I bought it, and that one had a bad RAM chip. I've already opened this up, so I've disconnected the keyboard just to save myself a little bit of time. I think it was that one in my elk. I also had the soldered on ULA. So yeah, power supply, motherboard, and on the motherboard we've got four 4164 RAM chips, but it only uses half the bits in them. Some logic here, a bit more like LM324 something there. More logic, ROM chip, and a 6502 CPU, and yeah, the ULA, also more logic around here, and the ULA here. Very, very simple computer, not much to it at all. I can see on the back that there's some work that's been done to the ULA. It looks like somebody's reflowed all of the joints on that, which is a good thing. So I don't think it's going to be anything to do with that, although I did have some problems with my one and reflowed the very top pins, and they can, because there's not a lot of solder there, they are supposed to be connected all the way through. If they crack, that can be an issue. I wonder if I should just let's have a look under the microscope. Okay, here we go. So you can see that places like this do look a bit suspect. There are some possible cracks going on there. Nothing too obvious. I think it was much more obvious on mine. That one looks okay, I think. Yeah, that one there could be cracked. And that one down there. That one as well, that one. And that one is really not very nice looking. And some of these look a bit, what is that going on there? Might have to get a tiny soldering iron in here and just reflow these at some point. But you'd expect the fault to change maybe if you put pressure on the ULA to make those. Well, I don't know, maybe that wouldn't make much difference, but it's probably worth doing. But before I do that, I am just going to plug it into my bench power supply with a few extra volts, and hopefully that will wake it up. Let's try 14 volts. Help if I plugged it in. Help if I plug the video in as well. Yeah, no difference at all. So I'm pretty sure that the power supply is giving it enough juice and I don't need to worry about that. I was only drawing like 200 milliamps, 250 odd milliamps. Very efficient little machine. Okay, let's get it back under the microscope. Turn my soldering station down to 330 degrees. I've got a little hook nose tip on it. I'm going to get some of my the Good Stuff MG Chemicals flux on here. Let's see what that does. That looks a little bit better, doesn't it? I really don't like these tips. Why is that solder running all the way up there into a small wedge tip now? Oh, that's so much better. Shouldn't be too difficult to clear that up. That one looked like a complete hole. Right, give that a clean. Wipe it over with a nano sponge first, just to get the worst of it off. Ew. Okay, let's try that. I don't think that's actually going to make any difference, but it's definitely worth doing to prevent any future problems and to rule it out as because it's just such a simple thing. Here we go. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to leave it running this time. A little look with thermal camera just to see if there's a hot chip, and there isn't. They all look the same. CPU's up at 29 degrees. That's nothing unusual. There's looks like a power resistor in here somewhere. Down there, it's getting quite warm, but nothing unusual. Nothing really stands out. Okay, one of the memory chips is slightly warmer than the others, like 2 degrees warmer, if that, like 1 degree warmer. But I do notice that even though they're all the same brand, they are all different chips. They've all got different dates on. So that one is 8409, 8439, 8344, and 8423. There's 4 different. Well, there are four of the same chips, but they're all from different eras. They're from different, not eras. A few weeks is not an era. They are all not made at the same time. So there could be slight manufacturing differences, but that second one at IC5 is slightly different to the others. Okay, so I've got my scope connected up now, and I'm just going to connect to a handy ground on that pin there. And I have a quick look at the signals coming out of these RAM chips. I definitely feel like these are the most likely culprits. That's a data line, and that's a data line. That looks a bit weird, doesn't it? Is it doing the same one? Yes, that's really weird. I've never seen that's like it's floating. The reference voltage is floating up and down. That's on all of. Yeah, that's on all of them. I've not seen that before. I've got one here, but I don't know if this works. This could be interesting. I bought this one from the Northwest Computer Museum when I visited there last year. I've never tested this. Well, there's no video output, but there was a beep. It's running. Oh, hang on. No, it is working. Yeah, so this one is working fine. So I can use this as a test. Oh, Keith, I'm just tempted to take the insides out of this one and put it in your one. That'd be a nice, easy fix. They're different screws in your one. They were not a good fit. These ones are a much nicer fit. It still says on the bottom of this one, property of Northwest Computer Museum. It's not, it's mine. I bought it. Oh, a slightly different revision motherboard, this one. This has got the extra ROM slot in here that this one hasn't got, and it's also got the ULA in the socket. This must be the earlier board. So the question here is, do we get the same behavior on those pins? Oh, it doesn't like running without a keyboard connected. This is the other thing. Oh, you're going to be... It's not running at all. Now it is. Okay. And being a slightly different revision doesn't help, really. Not as helpful as I hoped it might be. Just in case, I know that they don't run, but it should still, well, my one did run without the keyboard connected. All right, no, that's still the same. Those voltage levels look quite different to the other one. I'm gonna have to get 2 of these up at the same time, I think, and that is gonna be tricky. You can see the difference. There's quite a lot of difference. That again, that could be a newer board thing. So the blue one is the good board. All right, I'm sure everyone's screaming at me, check your voltages. So let's just do that quickly. Right here, it's just 5 volts. Yeah, the voltage is fine. I think I would much rather have the same boards to compare. I'm gonna have to have a look for my other elk. This one is a bit different. This is one that I think I built from parts. So I'm hoping it works. Yeah. So this has got Chris Mogwai's Jamsoft's elk ULA replacement in it. So anyway, let's have a look, see what the voltage level did. Oh, there's a capacitor hanging out there. There we go, got it in. Soldering from the top side. Not sure why that was doing that, but yeah, this one looks, oh, it's got a new CPU in it as well. Okay, let's try this. See how far we get with this one. I think this is, yeah, this is the same revision. Issue 6 and issue 6. So I'll notice that this one doesn't need a keyboard in to post or to start up. All right, so yellow is the bad one and blue is the good one. Yeah, those voltages are really high. I mean, they're not out of range of what they are, what you would consider safe, but it looks like a normal elk just doesn't get up to that high level. Huh. A lot of the pins just look the same on these other logic chips, but on the memory it doesn't. On the memory everything looks very, very different. I know that's been running for a bit. I'm just going to give it one more little look with the thermal camera. See if I can find, if anything, IC5 is just marginally warmer than the others, but I don't think it's going to be that. This could be a passive or something in the, I don't know. Let's disconnect everything on both and try some resistance checks. So 500 odd ohms and climbing. Huh. Take the power supply out of the equation. So there's, mind you, this has got this thing on it, so that could be completely different. Yeah, very similar. That, I mean, you can't see it, but it does say about 500, 400 ohms on that one. So I don't think there's anything shorting, and we didn't see anything on the thermal camera to indicate that either. This is not an easy one. There's nothing that's jumping out that says, look at me. The ULA is not going to be replaceable. I mean, it is replaceable, but in this case, Keith is probably going to be better with just another machine if the ULA is broken. The pattern, it screams RAM. So I think the next thing I want to do is what worked in my first elk video. One of the first repairs on my More Fun Making It channel, when before I had More Fun Fixing It separated off, I did all my repairs on More Fun Making It. And one of the first ones was an Acorn Electron that had a faulty RAM chip, and I discovered that by piggybacking good chips on top of the dodgy ones. So we're going to try that again. So let's go for the one I suspect first. I say suspect is marginally warmer than the others. No beep. No power supply connected. Lee. Same rotten thing. I'm going to give these, just gave everything a little soak in contact cleaner. Still need to make these a little bit narrower, get good contact. Yep. Yep. No, and unless it's 2 of them, yeah, or 3 of them, or 4 of them, I don't think that's going to help us. I think my only option here is to start taking chips out. I haven't got anything to chase. Nothing here really shouts I'm broken. So let's go with the best, or the most likely suspect, which is the RAM, and take that out. Okay, so the one that I think might be problem is, I think it's IC5. Quite short legs, and they all feel bent over and crooked, and doesn't feel like it's just going to fall out of the board. So that there is some movement there. This pin wiggle method is something that I first saw Chris Gadget UK do on his channel, and I've always liked that. And if Chris says it's a good method, it's a good method. He's one of the OG techs, and the guy really knows what he's talking about. But we all find our own way, don't we? We all find our own methods of doing these things, but it's good to get your inspirations from people you respect. Yeah, this it felt like it was moving, so I've worked the tweezers underneath it, and it's just a case of the chip legs being bent up and the holes being quite tight, but that's come out okay. Moment of truth. First, I need to find a chip tester. What did I do with those? There's a chance, and I'll apologise to Phil in advance, that there's a chance I haven't updated this yet to the very latest firmware, but I'll be fine. Yeah, 4164. Oh, it's going to pass. I was hoping it wouldn't. Okay, I'm going to take them all out. So it came out relatively painlessly. I'm going to take them all out, and then we'll see. Right, so I removed the solder from the other side, but I don't think these are just going to pop out like the other one did. Oh, no, I am mistaken. That one is. It is just a case of the legs being really mangled. They've got like a bend on all of them. That's 3 chips removed without any damage. That's good. This one was okay. And these are the 3 we're testing now. I've got a feeling they're all going to be okay. They all looked weird, but I think because they all look the same weird, it's going to be something else further up the chain that's causing this problem. Yeah, it's disappointing, because now I'm kind of suspecting the ULA. I need to do some investigating. I need to ask some advice from people who know better than me about these machines. All right, so if this was a ZX Spectrum and it was something that manifested as a RAM fault, which this is, I would be looking at the reasons that might happen, and the main reasons would be, so if it was the lower RAM and that was indicating a fault, I would be looking at ICs 3 and 4, which are the logic chips that control it, the lower RAM. But I have a feeling, I know there is logic around here that's next to the RAM, so I need to look at the schematics and maybe maybe we can trace it back from there. But again, if it had something that looked faulty rather than everything looking faulty, if, you know, one thing, one chip had, or one area had a fault that was manifesting in that area, then that would give us something to aim at. But the weird signals I'm seeing are coming from everywhere, and everywhere is connected to the ULA and the CPU, I suppose. I don't know. This one outside my comfort zone, so I'm reluctant to just start yanking chips out, even though I have just yanked out 4 chips. Oh, let's investigate. Oh, right. So I've got both machines up here, and what I've done is connected them both up with scope probes, and I've gone over the CPU. The CPU is the easiest one to probe. You can see this one's got a ULA replacement in, so it's going to be more difficult. And I think the other machines I've got have the ULA in a socket, which is even more difficult to probe. So most of the signals that I'm interested in are going to be available on the CPU. So I've gone through one at a time and compared all of the signals just to make sure that they all match up. And they don't. So there's the first problem. That's the clock. That's the clock out on the CPU, which is pin 3 of the 6502. And you can see the yellow trace is the broken machine and the blue trace is the good machine. And those pauses in the clock are where the ULA stretches the clock so that other things can be happening in the machine at the same time. I don't know the exact reasons behind, but I know that the ULA controls these clock pauses. It's a bit like contention, but it's not. It's just doing stuff that by slowing down the clock so that it can fit extra things in. And that not being there means that the ULA is not running its logic that controls this clock pausing function. That's one thing. Another thing that's pointing towards the ULA is the fact that we've got this black and white stripy screen which points to the memory. Well, the DMA control of the memory, all of the multiplexing is done by the ULA. Let's carry on down the pins. Here we got pin 4, and you can see, look, pin 4 on the good machine, which is the blue trace, is going up to roughly 5 volts. Oops, I've slipped off. Pin 4, but the bad machine is not moving at all. And pin 4 is IRQ. IRQ is stuck low, and guess what generates the IRQ? It's not the CPU, it's the ULA. Everything else looks okay. So if I'm going to start down on pin 20 down here and show that it's mostly normal looking activity. This is 19. They don't match up exactly. Remember that blue is the one that is working. Yellow is the faulty one. But none of these signals are held at a bad voltage level. So something is, maybe pulling it to ground or holding it high. These are all good looking signals to me. Now that continues all the way up to pin 34. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. This is the good signal on the CPU. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And the yellow one is the bad signal. That is actually doing something slightly different to what it did before, but the good signal is mostly high with the occasional being pulled low, but the bad signal is not. It's just evenly, it's a square wave basically, and that is the read-write line. Again, something I don't know if that's generated by the ULA, but I think it is a function that the ULA uses. So in desperation here, I think my only options are to, ideally I want to be able to replace the ULA, which is not hot. Nothing gets hot in this machine. It's in. It seems to be all in working order. In desperation, I think I'm going to remove the CPU and the ROM one at a time. I'll probably start with the CPU because that's the most. I mean, the most likely thing is the ULA. Then it could be. I mean, we're looking at like 80% likely it's the ULA. Then it could be the CPU, and then it could be the ROM, sharing that last 20%. Most of it being, say, 15% of that being the CPU and 5% the ROM. That's my guess. Now, I have the other machine here, which is all fully socketed. So I can pop these into that machine and test them quite simply. That won't be a problem. If it's neither of those, then I'm going to have a look at my other machines and see if I've got a ULA that's working in one of them. Because I think I need to find this out. I've asked Keith if this is a machine with sentimental value. I think it's Mrs. Yawning Angel's childhood machine. I don't know why I'm putting that in there. And if it is, then we need to bring this one back. And the only way to do that is to replace the ULA. So if I've got a machine with a soldered ULA from, an issue 6 like this one of these later boards, then I will swap it over and we'll bring this one back to life. And hopefully it won't kill another ULA because it looks like, looking at the solder on the back, it has been replaced already. That is showing telltale signs of being worked. It could be that it was just reflowed, but it could also be, I don't know if there's no scuff marks around the solder mask. So no, I think that's just been reflowed. Maybe I'm not doing it justice there, but yeah, that's, I think, the only option. But let's get the CPU out first and see if by some miracle that is the fault. Fingers crossed it is. On the other option is a Jamsoft ULA replacement. Now, I've just had a look at my other machines, and the only one I've got is a socketed one. There's no way I'm taking one of those sockets out of a board. So this is all down to whether the CPU. If the CPU isn't savable, then we're going to have to probably chalk this one up and maybe replace the machine or the motherboard altogether. That might be the only option. Let's get that CPU out. All looks good from that side. Let's give it a Gadget UK tweak. It's nice when you feel a crack on some of the pins. You know that they've let go. It's just a gentle tweak. You don't want to bend the pin physically. You just want to give it a wiggle. Yeah, that side is actually pushed through. I can push those pins through. This one's a little bit more reluctant. Something else is holding on here. That's out. Not a bad board to work on. The holes are really small on the pads, but it doesn't seem to stop the chip coming out nice and cleanly. Let's see if it works. I think it will. All right, let's verify this one first. Speaker's not working. There we go. So we've got a display and an output, and let's pop that chip out, put the other one in and see if it still works. This would be so nice if it's this. It's taken a few pins with it. That's always annoying. Right, now what do we get? Hello? That's not working. Oh, this is good. This is possibly very good. Now let's leave the good one out, get a socket in the other machine and try it again. It could also be not the only fault, which might be why everything was a little bit confused. I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know about you. Please, it'll be so nice if this is it. Brilliant. There's the CPU. That's such a good result. Oh, Keith, I'm so happy for you and Mrs. Yawning Angel. That's I despaired. I thought that this one was going to be a bit of a no hope. As you know, many people might not know the ULA and these obviously unobtainium now. You can get replacements for them that Chris Jamsoff kindly recreated, but they aren't cheap, and you can pick up a whole new second-hand machine, complete, untested, of course, with everything in it for less than the price of a ULA. I think I paid for this one that I got from the Northwest Computer Museum, which is working. I think I paid about £20, which was cheap. On your normal sources like eBay and the like, you're going to pay a bit more, but it's going to be comparable to a ULA. Anyway, that is brilliant. And you can see there's some characters on the screen. That's because the keyboard's not connected. Let's connect the keyboard, make sure it works. I'll leave my CPU in there and I'll replace the one missing now in my machine with a new one from somewhere else. I'm not sure. I might have one, but yeah, these screws are really long. I wonder if they've not dimpled the front. Putting some more appropriately sized screws in here. These long ones are just ridiculously long. Definitely the wrong size. I bought some screws when I did my elk repair, and my case had no screws in it, so I bought some, and these are a lovely fit. Nice. Okay, does it fire up still? Yes. Hey. Right, I don't know what this does. I think I've got one of these, but I have no idea. I hope it does something. Shift, brake. Hey. Okay, dirty expansion slot working now. A question of sport. Play Bill, play in. Oh, let's play the both of them. Select specialist subject. That's golf. Tennis would be my specialist subject probably. How do I change? Ah. What the? There's Noel Fielding as number 7 there. Choose team members. All right. Okay. Yeah, I don't really. Oh, they've all got specialist subjects. Oh no. I should have just played Chucky Egg. What's happening? Oh, it looks like it's crashed. Oh, I like the sound of Electron Invaders. Let's try that. Croaker sounds like Frogger. 5 Invaders. Jet Power Jack. There's a few copyright infringing games on here. Stock car, Killer Gorilla. Killer Gorilla's going to be Donkey Kong. One player game. We don't need no stinking instructions. Hey, we got sound. Oh, this is quite a nice version. Oops. My mouse cursor was over that part of the screen. Oh, I like this. Oh, I hit that mothership, surely. Auto fire as well. Yes. So hail, raining bullets down on me. Well, that was a quick one. They fire sideways as well, which seems slightly unfair. Oh. Nailed it. Did nail it. What a cracking version of Invaders. Can't catch him up. Oh, come on. That went off the screen before the bullet could hit it. Yeah. Oh, that's not fair. Oh. Yeah. I should have put more fun fix in it, but never mind. Excellent. Right, so I'll be taking this back to Keith at the Swindon Retro Fest 26. That's happening, as I've said already. Keith is going to be there. There's going to be a few other YouTubers there. I know that Happy Lord Diodes Jim is going to be there. A Retro Tech Repair Roger is going to be there. I always forget your name. I think it's Roger. And Andy from Hack Build Restore is going to be there. Matt from, I think Matt's coming. Yeah, Matt's coming from Tech Made Easy, or TME Retro UK, as he's now called. There's quite a few of us. If I've forgotten any of you, I'm sorry. I'll put a caption up on the screen. There's also a certain Scottish gentleman who's going to make an appearance that I'm quite keen to meet up for the first time. Kind of a dinosaur fella. And yes, it's going to be one of those brilliant weekends. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to be taking this back to Keith in its lovely flight box with all its bits and pieces, and handing it back to him fully working. That is very, very satisfying. I did not expect that to be. I mean, we didn't learn much apart from things that you expect to be a fault. For instance, this known screen that points at the memory, that should have been the memory, and if it's not the memory, it should have been the ULA. Shouldn't have been the CPU. It really shouldn't. But looking at the signals coming out of the CPU, although the 3 signals that I found that were faulty, that were inconsistent with a working machine, were all on the CPU, they all pointed to the ULA. So all of the evidence seemed to suggest it was the ULA, but nope, it was the CPU. So brilliant, happy days. I'm going to give this back to a very happy Yawning Angel Keith. And yeah, job done. Thanks for watching. I will. Oh, one more thing. The next charity raffle is happening on the 24th of May, probably around 7:30 p.m. More details will follow. I'll leave a link in the description where you can win one of 3 prizes. One is the recreated C64GS machine that we made as a community together. with all sorts of bits and pieces with it. A Steam Card Pro, yeah, Steam Card Pro diagnostic card for ZX Spectrums, one of these, and Lee Smith also donated a Des Test Max, I believe it is, which isn't one of the newer ones. This is the new Des Test Switch Select, which is the new one, but it's still a prize, and it's it's still something that is nice to own. Yeah, so if you're interested in buying some tickets to that, there will be a link in the description. And like I say, the prize draw will be happening on the 24th of May. Hopefully, we'll see you then. I'll be live streaming that. Right, I'm going. Goodbye.